Now we have reshaping of the video game industry with the new technologies. May I request the moderator, Ms. Saloni Rai, partner Deloitte India, to be on the stage, please. I also request key panelist, Mr. Girish Menon, Chief Strategy Officer, JetSynthesys, Manish, Studio Head, Myyhashstash, Mr. Aditya Maurya, Co-founder, Zelox Entertainment, Mr. Karan Keswani, CEO, BharatBox. I would request Ms. Saloni to introduce herself and the panelists, please.
Good evening, everyone. So the last session for today, and I'm sure it's going to be the most interesting one. It's all about technology and how the gaming world has changed because of technology. So just a quick introduction. I'm Saloni Roy. I'm a partner with Deloitte. I have 4 panelists, and I'm going to be requesting each one to introduce themselves. We all know how gaming has changed in our country, and the pandemic itself has brought us in a huge spurt. The number of gamers that we have today are roughly over 50 crore, and I think the number are going to change. From FY16 to FY22, we've seen the number of the value of this business grow at least 3 times, and we expect it to double in a few years, in 2-3 years. So I'm going to first ask Girish to introduce himself, and then thereafter we'll take it ahead.
Thanks so much, Saloni. Hi, my name is Girish Menon. I am Chief Strategy Officer at JetSynthesys. We at JetSynthesys are a gaming and esports ecosystem builders, where we've really been involved in developing multiple elements around this space, from the early days. But also more importantly, in this context, we also are very significantly invested in building out innovative technologies, particularly around gaming and entertainment, revolving around immersive technologies as well as Gen AI applications.
Thank you.
Manish.
Hi, my name is Manish. I'm studio head at Myyhashstash Studios. Well, as the name suggests, we are bunch of cool people working on game development, interactive media solutions, and experiential tech. We help brands, NGOs, edtechs, basically pretty much everyone who are non-gamers, non-gaming tech platform, to basically leverage the potential of gaming and these other tech for their business objectives, like engagement, retention, and so forth.
I will like to keep it short like Kashyap did. This chair has a Kashyap effect. So we make interesting games from hyper casual to console. And right now we are pivoting to blockchain gaming. We have been closely associated with movie industry. We have built games for Shemaru, Eros. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, I'm Karan Keswani. I'm the CEO for BharatBox. BharatBox is bringing Sandbox to India. It is Sandbox's subsidiary for India. Sandbox's 12th global office. Sandbox, for those that don't know, is a decentralized metaverse platform. Blockchain gaming again, which is all through the blockchain on smart contracts. Looking forward to onboard Indian IPs, brands, and partners onto the decentralized Web3 metaverse.
I'm going to start with you, Karan. How has Metaverse changed the gaming scenario, and what do we expect in the future from Metaverse? Yeah.
I think Metaverse, after Facebook changed the name, the word Metaverse was more of marketing than anything else. But just to tell you guys, the word Metaverse started in the early 90s. It came from the word meta and universe. I think it was in some movie in the early 90s. And that came about with the word Metaverse. Metaverse is any virtual reality environment, right? And today we have companies making their own metaverses. This is something I already explained on Metaverse, that you can have your bespoke Metaverse where companies are making your own metaverses We heard from Varun of Metafi trying to explain that way he works with brands to create customized metaverses. Or you have Web 2 platforms, which in the, I think around 2008, 2007, when Roblox started, which is a large Web 2 metaverse, or you have Minecraft or Fortnite. These are all Web 2 gaming metaverses, which where metaverses are controlled and owned by centralized corporations, where these corporates actually own the metaverse and they own the platform to be, and have gaming on Web 2 metaverses. Then what we do is Web 3 metaverses, gaming in Web 3 metaverse, where metaverses are through something called a smart contract, which runs on blockchain technology. And through a Web3 metaverse, the players and consumers can own assets through true digital ownership. And through that, they can trade in games and actually own a part of the metaverse. So it's not just play to earn, but you can own, you can build, you can create, meet and earn. So you can create your games on the land, you can meet other players in their avatars, and then there's an earning element as well. So this is why I just want to give a short of background about metaverse and the different types which is available and the kind of metaverse gaming possible. Yeah.
Thanks, Karan. Girish, my next question is for you. How has technology played the role in transforming the gaming sector? It's really vast, the question, so you can take a shot at it.
It's actually, there's probably another way to look at this question, and it's not so much how technology has changed gaming, but actually how gaming has influenced technological change, right? In the sense, if you look at most kinds of technology revolving around media in any manner, a lot of their genesis has actually happened in the gaming industry, right? Or the most widespread usage has first started in the gaming industry, right? When we are talking metaverse, metaverse actually started with games, right? And while it's a new word for us today, or a new conversation starter for us today, you had Second Life back in 2010, 2011, which effectively allowed you to have the complete Web 2 metaverse experience 12 years to 13 years back, right? When you talk about media engines today, right? Unreal, Unity, these are the engines that have actually developed in the gaming industry, which now are actually finding use cases outside of gaming, right? When you start thinking about AI, right, and when you start thinking about Gen AI applications, today we hear a lot about ChatGPT, we hear a lot about Gen AI use cases, but gaming has been using AI capabilities for quite a while now. Maybe not to the extent of sophistication that we are seeing today, but gaming companies are probably already in the forefront of using Gen AI technologies within gaming ecosystems. Same when we talk about digital assets and NFTs. While these may not have been fungible, but most games already had inbuilt digital assets which were tradable, which could be owned and customized. So the point that I'm trying to make is, while a lot of technology changes tend to happen, gaming tends to be among the first industries who tends to pick up all of that, right? So given where we are today, when I look forward, right, I think what I see 2 or 3 big things that sort of will drive a further technological adoption in gaming, and therefore, impact how games are created, built, and developed. Obviously the metaverse experience comes to mind for sure. Web3 and gaming and NFT is the other piece that I would sort of focus on. And the third bit is essentially Gen AI applications within gaming. While there are a lot of other things that are happening at a broader level, these 3 areas are what I see influencing how games get, the gaming industry evolves over the next few years. But at the end of it, it boils down to all of these being essentially enablers to ensure that you are able to enhance the gaming engagement and experience of the ultimate user. So really, in that sense, technology as an enabler is how I see moving around a few of these areas over the next few years.
Thanks, Girish. The next question is to you, Aditya. Uh, how does AI and machine learning play in the ability of realistic gameplay? How does it contribute?
Okay, while Girish was speaking, I hypothetically created a game here itself. So let's do some maths also. Let's say there is a game called Kuruk uh, on Mahabharata, Kurukshetra. Kauravas and Pandavas are fighting against each other. Within Pandavas, there is a setup called Akshahini. It's a 1:1:3:5 sort of a setup. It's basically a battle formation. How AI can come into the place, now I'm explaining. You can create few limited characters, and meanwhile the gameplay is progressing. These automatically characters can spawn. Because those chariots and elephants were approximately, I can't remember the exact value, it was around 2 to 2.5 lakhs. We as game devs or game studios can't make such immense assets or characters, or so this is how NPCs, what Girish was mentioning, can come into the picture, and we can create some set characters, and then NPCs can come into the picture, and your whole game is built on it. That's the game dev part. Now the statistical part, obviously the users who are playing your game, you have lots of data which has been collected. You can directly link that to what I just mentioned, to your initial game development. So let's say a user is playing in a certain manner where he is progressing very rapidly. There you can make the difficulty level rise. So this is where reinforcement learning comes into play. And lastly, how ML and all these, already we were using technologies before this Gen AI thing came into the picture. But even small games are right now using those things, and from hyper casual to big AAA titles, everyone is banking on these technologies because it reduces your dev cost. And first thing, it reduces your dev cost. Second thing, it makes your users stay. So your user retention is also high. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thanks, Aditya. So, Manish, the next question for you. What is the contribution of AI, Web3, and blockchain in the elevation of the overall gaming experience?
Gaming has always been in the forefront, as Girish also mentioned, that forefront of the technological enhancement or the evolution, and the new technology, not the new technologies, but the technologies like AI and Web3, they have been a game changer. They have enabled themselves, and they have come across as a game changers in revolutionizing the gaming experience altogether. Like if we talk about developing a game, we can now, with the help of other tools, we can create intelligent NPCs, natural conversations with the characters that are moving there in the game. Natural language processing is there now. Voice recognition is there. Fraud detection is there. So these are so many tools. But at the end, we need to understand that these are just the tools. I mean, they don't reshape the industry as of on their own, right? We need the entire, all the stakeholders like game developers, game designers, to take that data and create that entire design, which is much more niche, not niche, but personalized to every user to make the experience better. So it's everyone takes a role in that. So we are all the small cogs in the entire machinery is all about. So AI, machine learning, Web3, these are just tools, enablers by which we can actually reshape the industry. But everyone has to play their role in some way or the other.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Girish, the next question is for you. Have technological advancements taken over the importance of gameplay in a game's fortune?
So, in some ways, yes, and that's unfortunate because, like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, and like Manish was also just mentioning, that at the end of it, technology should only be an enabler. It should not be the front and center of what you're trying to do, right? And I think that's a fundamental point to keep in mind, right? So, gaming is a techno-creative industry, right? So while technology helps and enables, but at the end of it, it's a very, very creative space, right? So what you're doing is you're essentially creating content which you believe somebody else will enjoy, get entertained with, and get engaged with, right? And that's a very subjective proposition, right? Technology, so if you don't get that right, right, it doesn't matter how great your tech elements within that are. And I think that the gaming companies always had that in mind, and that's how the entire industry has developed. What has sort of happened in the last couple of years, right? And this is my personal view, and others may or may not agree with that. But as new technologies came up, what you saw happening were technologists started to try and make games using those technologies and trying to leverage those technologies. And I think the most classic two examples that I can think of are P2E Web3 games, where, as Web3 technology started evolving, blockchain guys and Web3 guys started saying, fine, let me make a Web3 game because I know how Web3 works, right? But that effectively, you've seen a lot of Web3 projects fail over the last couple of years after a bit of an initial hype, because at the end of it, they were not great games, right? A game is something that you genuinely need to have fun with, and if you don't, it is not going to work. It doesn't matter, right? How great looking or what underlying technology that is. So that, I think, was a challenge. And now, for example, when you see, you have gaming companies who figured out how Web3 works, how blockchain works, and now the next iteration of Web3 projects that are coming out are actually from gaming companies, and those look far more interesting and sustainable. Same with with Metaverse, right? It went through a hype cycle primarily because a lot of the people who were trying to create Metaverse projects were essentially technologists, right? Whereas gaming companies already knew how Metaverse operates, right? So a Fortnite already has a very thriving, Metaverse ecosystem. So does a Roblox. They knew how it works, right? So when they've now tried to build it and expand it, right, it moves in a much more sustainable direction than when you focus purely on the blockchain and Web3 part of it. So I think, to your question, I do believe that we are seeing situations where technology is overshadowing the underlying gameplay, but I am also seeing that change very quickly because people are realizing that you ultimately need to have a great game. If you don't have a great game, nothing else matters.
Thanks. The next question is to you, Karan. Metaverse has been present in gaming since a long time, which, like you mentioned earlier. How is the Metaverse revolution in India different from what is happening globally, both for users and platforms?
Yeah, thanks. So I think that, like we've all summarized Metaverse, and Girish also added some valuable insights. What needs to be understood is today we're talking about the application of gaming in the Metaverse, right? And I will stick it to Web3 Metaverse is what I'd like to speak about because that's what is moving towards. The opportunity for platforms is to get, what I'd like to add to Girish's point, then I'll come back to your question, is that using Metaverse decentralized platforms, it's possible for gaming companies now to build their games on the Metaverse. So with Metaverse, we have Sandbox, we have brands, we have a Snoop Dogg or a Paris Hilton or celebrities or entertainment companies like Warner Music, but we also have gaming companies like Atari and Ubisoft who are building their games on a Web3 Metaverse platform. So it provides the technology layer, the platform availability, and being decentralized, all revenues, 95% of the revenues go to the brand owner or the IP owner, and only 5% goes to the platform. So this is a scalable model which we will see coming, which is how Web3 is now going to be integrated in the future. Now coming back to your point about India, I still think it's very early compared to Western IPs and Western brands which have activated metaverse presences. I think in India we have quite a few companies like Flipkart is doing something, the Flipverse, Tech Mahindra is doing something. Varun spoke about all the various other brands. I think India is still creating only virtual environments. There is also the lack of regulatory approval on the crypto space, which is making it very difficult for certain brands. I would not like to name them, but certain very large corporates and brands which want to enter the metaverse but do not want to associate with Web3 or blockchain because there's still a gray area. It's not black, but it's not white either. But in the future, I think the metaverse is also not just for Indian consumers or Indian brands to create virtual experiences and give consumers the chance to own, build, play, earn. But I think the metaverse is an opportunity to take India to the world, which is what we are trying to do from Sandbox through BharatBox right now, is to take Indian culture, Indian music, Indian entertainment, Indian sports, Indian gaming, Indian health, fashion, wellness to the world. And we have tied up with some partners like Hungama in entertainment, Hungama Music, Shemaru Entertainment. Aditya spoke about Mahabharata, so we are working with Myyhashstash, which is Madhu Montana, who has the rights for Mahabharata. They're making a Disney Hotstar OTT show. So we are bringing Mahabharata and Myyhashstash on the Sandbox. And obviously various other corporate brands as well. The idea is this will give a chance for global users, global gamers to come learn about India and experience India without actually having to come to India. And that is the vision of the metaverse which is there, and hopefully we can try making that possible.
Yeah. It really makes the world smaller and closer. Yeah. Okay, the next question is to you, Manish. Are there any setbacks in terms of AI used by developers for developing games? Cost, complexities, limited intelligence, creativity. You can see that. And machine learning, which can be worked upon. So what kind of setbacks do you see?
Setbacks.
Yeah.
I feel like Elon Manish here, saying that AI is much more worse than nukes. But, I mean, for sure, there are a few points that we need to take care of when we are using the technology. As we move forward in gaming, now gaming is much more data-centric. So I think one of the key points and primary points is how responsibly we are using the data. Because at the end of the day, we have to use it ethically and responsibly, right? So yeah, I think there should be some, like we discussed in the members meeting that DPDP bill came into action, and there's a lot of things happening protecting the data of users. So I think there should be some regulatory on the kind of data we use in games as well, and it has to be it should be revisited time to time. And also we need to, as human human beings using the technology, we need to take care of the technology addiction and dependency part as well. I mean, it's a fatalistic attitude you have to take. It's inevitable, but still, I mean, before even Google Maps, we used to travel around, very frequently and easily. But now we have so much dependency on, maps. So we have to make sure, and we should take account that, how much dependency we are having on the technology part.
Thanks. Aditya, a question for you. Has the Indian market succeeded in harnessing the complete potential of AI?
Well, AI is very new, like it's relative to Indian market. So I don't think we have completely harnessed the potential, and it's going to take a lot of time. And as Girish, Karan, all of us were mentioning, so I would like to bring one simple innovation theory, a diffusion of innovation theory, which basically says once you have a limited amount of adopters for that particular technology, then only it sort of leverages to massive audiences. So Yeah, I don't think we have yet harnessed the potential, and this whole ecosystem is growing. So we need more people and we need more tech guys. Like, let's create a Venn diagram. I do a lot of mathematics. So there will be IT people who are prone to blockchain and there will be gaming people. So we can have a mutual overlap of both these companies, and then only we can harness the new Web3 ecosystem.
And if I can just add one point to this. See, when you talk about AI, forget AI in gaming, right? The whole narrative around Gen AI and Gen AI technologies is 1 year old, right? ChatGPT is still working on further evolutions. It's still, the machine models are still being built and developed and learning, right? And you've got, other, besides Google, you've got Apple, Amazon building their own models. So we are probably in, if I look at like the entire evolution as a day, this is just sunrise. There's a lot more to go before the technology itself develops, right? Now, as technology develops, use cases will happen and adoption will happen. So I think, it's very early to talk about, where we've reached. I think what is more exciting is the potential of what we can do with this and where it can take us, both in terms of the gaming experiences and the industry overall.
Thanks, Girish, for the follow-on. So we come to the end of today's session, but I wanted to just ask all the panelists if there's anything that they'd like to state before we close. Karan, maybe we can start with you and then just go.
No, I think just a final touch point. We're talking of Web3 and Metaverse, but I think that all companies need to, I believe that companies going ahead will not necessarily just move to Web3, but there will be a space and there is a market for Web2 metaverses where that will continue to build. People will build experiences on Web2, build their own metaverses, and also at the same time, parallel, have a Web3 metaverse experience for the blockchain gaming community. This is similar to what Warner Music has done. They've partnered with Roblox for a Web2 metaverse and the same time with Sandbox for a Web3 metaverse. So we need to understand that blockchain and Web3 is not a replacement to Web2. It is a complementary product and will always remain to be so.
Thanks. Aditya.
Just a final thought, I would like more people to come into the Web3 ecosystem. In order to do that, we as enablers have to create products which will bring, let's say, a person from Jharkhand, remote village, using your product. And this is the only way to move forward. And you can build a lot of things, but if people are not there, then no technology works. So this is my final thought.
Yeah, I think I agree with, the same thought that, we need to grow as a community and evolve as a community and take forward, what all technologies are available and make sure that all the stakeholders and the ecosystem thrives. So, we are not alone and the technology is not just for us. Everyone is doing their part. So I think we should respect that. And when we talk about, gaming industry, like it's a 200 billion industry and, things like that, we have to make sure that how much of that is coming back to the community, right? There are so many jobs coming up at, I feel like old saying this, but at my point of time when we used to talk about games, these were more of a distraction than a career option, right? And now we can see that even content generation market is, somewhere around $20 billion last year. So people are not even playing games, they are watching other people play games. So that is the kind of evolution we are in right now. So I think as a community we should, hold hands and grow together.
So I would, wholeheartedly agree with everything that's been said. I think from my perspective, what I would add to this is essentially, given where we are today, when we look at technology and gaming, I would advocate three things: innovation, flexibility, and patience, right? Patience because, most of these technologies are still evolving, right? And in some ways, we've gone through a hype cycle for pretty much all of these, and that's, I think, partly unfortunate and partly needed because it sort of settled things down. But I think there's a belief system needed, right? If you believe that these are the technologies of the future, then you need to, have patience to, stick with it, right? So that as these technologies settle, mature, evolve, as an organization and an industry, you are best placed to adopt these technologies for yourself as well as for your user base. And that's where innovation and flexibility comes into place, right? You need to be able to innovate constantly so that you are able to leverage these changes as they happen. But also, very importantly, you need to be flexible, right? Because the iterations of the technology evolution are in sometimes slow, but sometimes very, very dramatic, right? And in which case, your products could be either obsolete or could be, outdated in terms of, what users would like to see. So I think patience for, the technology itself to evolve, and innovation and flexibility in terms of how the organizations and the industry needs to look at all of these.
Thank you, Girish. Thank you to each one of you. And I think just to close this session, it's clearly a very exciting space to be in, gaming. And there's so much more to look forward to in terms of technological advancements, more creativity, and the fun element. I think that's one bit that I captured, that it needs to be relevant to the user, and we need to keep that experience in mind. And technology itself may not itself be sufficient. It needs to be something which the user enjoys and takes a benefit from.
Let your nephews and nieces play games. They might bring you, they might bring medals for the country.
Yes, definitely. Thanks so much to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.